it occurred to me, it happened to me over the weekend where so much is coming at us with everything that's going on with the Epstein files and this now military action in Iran, and everything's coming. It's hard not to feel despair over what's happening in this country and then our involvement globally. And no matter how many times millions of people take to the streets around this country to protest and send a message, it doesn't seem like our voices are heard. So I'm wondering what you do to cope with this. How do you, because like Jamie and I have to overcome it enough to talk about it semi-intelligently on my part, much more on Jamie's, except, that Chris Rock is a cowboy. But we let that go. That you're prepared for the big stuff. But what do you do? Because it's hard not to fall in that despair and think, boy, no matter what we do, our voices aren't going to be heard. And we may not be able to fire these people with a free election if Donald Trump has his way with that too, which he won't. But I said optimistically for a moment.
Right. Fingers crossed.
But yeah, so what are you doing? How do you fight that overwhelming despair? Because I can't be the only one who's feeling that.
No, definitely not. But I think that's the point. And if you want to chime in this morning, 1-855-752-4842, 1-855-CIVIC. I mean, this is the point, right? They want people to feel overwhelmed. They want us to disengage because when we start feeling hopeless, we stop showing up. And when we believe that nothing is going to change, they stop trying to change it. And that's how power protects itself, not just through the laws, not through just force, but through fatigue. And here's the thing that I've always truly believed, because I feel like you do. Saturday when I woke up and I saw this and I was just like, really, this is what we're doing again? Are you serious? But here's the one thing that I believe. Despair is a political tool. Hopelessness is contagious, but so is persistence. And history has shown us time and time again that change almost never happens overnight. It's messy, it's slow, it's frustrating, and it often looks like failure right up until it isn't. And what I also understand is that this administration, in many ways, is in over their heads. And this administration doesn't have a lot of off-ramps for some of the things that they have done and are currently doing. And the popularity of this administration is quickly sinking, even among their own supporters. And there is another round of No Kings protests that are planned for March 28th.
Yep.
And so I guess the question that I would have for everybody is your energy still there, right? Like, are you still as excited and have as much passion to get out into the streets? Do you even have more so now based on what we're seeing? And I think that is a legitimate question to be asking people as we start gearing up for these protests. But I guess at this point, it's hard because you literally are forcing yourself to not give in to what this administration wants you to give into.
It just gets tiring, doesn't it? That it's every day.
It's exhausting.
But yes, I'm already planning the 28th. And I said that to my wife. I was like, all right, you ready for the 28th? And I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but at least I can say I tried.
Right.
And I think that's what we all have to, that's what we have to hold on to, that at least we're trying. We're not rolling over. We're not letting it just happen. We're doing everything we can. Here's what's going to happen. Our strikes, along with Israel's on Iran, are expected to spark a surge in oil prices. That started coming a little bit yesterday when the markets opened. OPEC and the allies said yesterday that it would raise its daily output to 206,000 barrels a day after they pursued incremental production increases earlier in the week. That might not be enough, though, because the Strait of Hormuz is being shut down, and that is where most of the oil from that region flows through. So even though OPEC is going to increase their production, there's no way to get it anywhere.
Right. And when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, it's a narrow but really crucial waterway if you don't know your geography, and it's off Iran's southern coast. About 20 million barrels of oil per day go through the strait. That's about 20% of the world's supply. So it's considered one of the most important oil, essentially choke points on the entire planet.
The killing of the Ayatollah Khamenei by the United States and Israel has created a power vacuum in the Iranian regime and sparked a complex process of finding a successor. What's going to happen in Iran now? who may take over? Well, we are joined again. We didn't know it would be this soon, but we are happy to have Russell Lucas back with us. He's a professor of international relations at the James Madison College at Michigan State University, specializing in Middle Eastern politics and culture with attention on foreign policy. Russell, it was just last week we spoke to you, and we thought, well, Russell, and we said, we'll bring you back when more things happen. And hey, more things happened. I guess we'll start. The easiest question, were you as surprised as most of us were that this happened on Saturday? And where does Iran stand right now?
Well, I glad to be back with you, but not necessarily glad to be back to be talking about what we're talking about right now.
Right.
So I wasn't too surprised that the United States and Israel attacked. I was figuring that was going to be happening this week, not over the weekend. But apparently there was, it seems to me there's some intelligence that Iran's leaders were in a meeting, and that was an opportune moment for Israel. Apparently the United States tipped off Israel that was happening. The Israelis attacked, and of course then the United States joined in. So what happened is that Iran, the supreme leader of Iran, and Iran's political system is fairly complex, so I can talk about that in a minute. The supreme leader has been killed, along with a number of, especially military leaders, but there are parts of Iran's government that still are alive, and often from the civilian side. And I'm not sure this is a leadership vacuum. The Iranians knew this was coming. Basically, there were reports that every senior position in Iran had a succession plan of at least 3 people deep.
Oh, wow.
So the people who are in charge right now knew that they may have to step up into that role. And currently, in the absence of the supreme leader, who was 86 years old, he had been in power for 37 years. He wasn't in great health. And so the issue of who is going to follow him into this kind of overseeing role over the whole Iranian government was already in motion long before this conflict started. And so right now, there is a triumvirate of 3 people who are taking the powers of the supreme leader in his absence until a new supreme leader is elected.
I want to take you now in another direction. And that direction is that a lot of people will say, well, it doesn't affect me. Iran's further away and so forth. Well, let me tell you how it affects you. Let's just say you're working in a construction union. Let me just say if you're working, as a mechanic, let me just say whatever it might be. Gas prices are going up. You can't get oil through the Straits of Hormuz. You can't get gas. So therefore, natural gas, because it's also in that line in the Strait of Hormuz, lockdown, you're not going to be able to do that. So that means if you're a mechanic, you can try to fix a car, but was there going to be any gas to run in it? Or is it going to be so expensive that you got to be part of the 1% and 5% to actually drive it? Or you got another situation here where you're trying to heat your home and you can't. And, if you're, because it's too expensive, and that goes both for oil and natural gas.
We know what's going on in Iran. And all weekend, there has been a lot of discussion. Was this legal for the United States to go in? Was it legal for President Trump to decide unilaterally to join into these airstrikes with Israel and bomb Iran? Well, I don't know. I know what I read. You may think you know what you read. Howard Schweber, though, this guy knows. He's Professor Emeritus of American Politics and Political Theory at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, teaches courses focusing on constitutional law and legal and political theory. Just the man we need this morning, Howard. Thank you for being here. I guess we'll just, plain and simple, was the president within his legal authority to initiate this military action in Iran?
Well, thanks for having me. I have to start with one of my all-time favorite quotations, which is when Theodore Roosevelt having seized the Panama Canal Zone in order to build the canal, asked his attorney general, a man named Philander Knox, whether this action was legal. And Knox replied, "Mr. President, do not let so great an accomplishment suffer from any taint of legality."
Wow. A taint of legality.
There's a long history. I mean, we can go back further. When Thomas Jefferson executed the Louisiana Purchase, he said, "I'm not at all sure this is legal, but Congress will let me know after the fact." So presidents and legality have always been two things that mix awkwardly. And at various times in the United States, we've tried to make laws to bind or constrain presidents in the exercise of military action or foreign affairs or any of the sort of traditional presidential areas. And it's never been terribly effective. I realize that's evading the question, but I thought that should be laid out at the beginning that this question is in some ways theoretical. All right, what's the state of the law? That's a perfectly fair question. In 1973, Congress adopted the War Powers Act in response to what had happened in Vietnam, and more particularly in Laos and Cambodia, the so-called secret wars. They were secret to everybody except the people on whom bombs were being dropped. The War Powers Act says that first of all, the War Powers Act is understood as a constraint on a pre-existing presidential authority. Now, this is debatable, but the dominant understanding is that before that law, presidents simply had the authority as commander-in-chief to send troops anywhere they wanted to, pretty much anytime they wanted to.